I call this conference committee to order today. Thank you. And we're going to move on to the traffic diversion programs. It's referenced throughout different parts of the side-by-side. But hello, Senator. So I think we will start with you, Senator Schmit.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, thanks for the time on this morning. I understand you've already spent a little time walking through this. The language that's included before you is the result of quite a committee process here on the Senate side. We really worked this hard, and we're kind of at an interesting moment here. We have a growing interest in these programs throughout much of greater Minnesota. We're talking about dozens of them in existence. I know over 36 that have been operating previously. And there's a problem before us, though, and that's a lack of clear authorization as to whether these programs can continue as they've been formed. And taking a step back, what these programs seek to do, if you would allow me, is to give local law enforcement agencies, officers, and motorists who've been pulled over for minor traffic safety violations an option to have a third way here. Rather than a warning or a full citation, an opportunity for a traffic safety diversion class, educational curriculum that is focused on their offense. And these have been growing in popularity. A lot of folks down in my neck of the woods really like these programs. I hear from our sheriffs, our police chiefs in Wabasha and Dignity counties in particular are very active or have been very active in these programs. I hear from motorists who've had a chance to participate in these programs and take great value in them. In fact, they often ask if their family members or others can join the class because it's of such great educational value. What we're trying to do here is have a compromise solution to move forward for 1 year with a pilot program that would allow us to gather a little bit of more information as to the efficacy of these programs, hear both from the local law enforcement agencies and also from those who participate in these programs, so that we can come back next year in a full session in a budget year and have a conversation about whether or not these programs have a place in Minnesota and how we can, if we decide to do so, authorize them going forward. On the Senate side, in particular, we had great conversations, but there was an interest in getting more information. And so what we're proposing to do here is essentially grandfather in those programs that have been in existence and allow the local units of government where they've been in existence to pass with a resolution authorization for these programs to continue beginning June 1st of 2014 and continuing until June 30th, 2015. And allow us for an opportunity in 1 year to get some additional information and also allow the next legislature to weigh in on this. Because I think we're at a critical juncture. Most of these programs have ceased operations in the last several months due to a court decision that essentially ruled that Minnesota law does not fully authorize these. It's not clear on what is authorized. And so we're at that critical juncture. If we do nothing, I fear that these may just go away. And if we give them a 1 year pilot window to proceed, we have an opportunity to learn from them and to come back next year and make a final decision moving forward or just let them be. So with that said, I know we've had a lot of conversations with the Minnesota Sheriff's Association, with the Association of Minnesota County Attorneys. We have some folks who would like to speak to the issue today if you would allow us. And I apologize if I've already spoken too much on the matter, but there's some great perspective here. We've been trying to work with the Department of Public Safety on this as well, and actually the pilot program idea came from them. I'm not sure if they're in love with this particular language, but I'm willing to move on a couple of items here to make this more palatable for folks if that's the case.
Okay, thank you. Are there others that would like to speak to this?
Yes, I'm from Wabasha County, and I don't know if everybody in the room is aware of this, but
we have
just
ma'am, will you come to the table, please?
I'm from Wabasha County, and I don't know if my name is Virginia House, and I don't know if everyone in the room is aware of it, but the Attorney General and a state auditor and a district court judge has ruled the diversion program in Wabasha illegal. And there's various reasons for that, very many. That suit has not been settled, and we don't know what the reprimand and the consequences will be for Wabasha County. I think to turn this program loose statewide, even as a pilot, would be opening a Pandora's box. We have a hearing on June 13th as to how the judge is going to proceed with the consequences toward Wabasha County. Now, I can't see where this pilot program would be good at this time. I'm not against the diversion program as long as they're legal. But this one was not legal. And Wabasha took in $450,000 and not one cent went from the state. I sat at board meetings where the state auditor told him this was illegal. This is what they had to fix about it, and fell on deaf ears. The minute that person left, the county attorney would say in his legal opinion, it was a legal diversion. Since the judge has ruled on it and shut it down. The other thing is there's no monitoring or auditing trail of this money that's collected. Also, we've done statistics on the fact that the number of tickets issued first quarter last year to first quarter of this year, the difference being that the judge had shut the program down. There was 87 tickets first quarter last year, and there was only 40-some this year. So now that the diversion program has been shut down, the ticket numbers have dropped. I also know of personal experiences where people who have been picked up for speeding, the officer was very nice and said he lowered the amount of speed they were going so they could attend this class. You know what that does? Diverts all the money to Wabasha County. It isn't giving any to the state. So they offer them this program, and they get the money. They've also let the towns in the county run this program. Plainview, City of Wabasha, and Lake City. They have their own police department, and so they have implemented the program that Sheriff Parrish is running. The interesting thing there is they have to give him $25 in every ticket they write, but he is doing what they do in the state. So until you can write a clear law, I think the statute's clear myself. I can look at the statute and understand what they're doing. So until you can clear up the law, I don't think these diversion programs should be allowed, much less a pilot. To me, if you open up the pilot program for a year, you're opening up a number of lawsuits. I thank you for your time and listening to me.
Thank you. Senator Ryan?
Thank you to the testifier and just for the committee's awareness as well as the public. The language that's before us does not authorize any expansion, even under a pilot program. So there's no going statewide. You can see on subdivision 2, it's a program that existed before May 1st of 2014. So only those already there could continue for 1 year.
Madam Chair, Senator Ryan, so the ones that have already closed, would they be able to open up again, or how does that work?
Senator Schmit could testify better. That's not my understanding.
Senator Gzelka, great question here. What we're trying to do is actually add clarity. We don't want to see a string of lawsuits play out over the next year as this issue remains muddled. And so what we want to do is have clarity under law and allow for a 1-year pilot program to continue. Or to commence, and only the programs that have been in existence prior to May 1st of 2014 would be eligible for reauthorizing and moving forward. So we're not going to be opening this up to new communities. It's to be frank with you, I think it's a last-ditch effort here to try to allow some value to remain in these programs, to collect data, and to come back here next year with an informed discussion. Otherwise, we'll be more than a year removed, and who knows if we have additional lawsuits pending as well. And it's unfortunate we weren't able to do this in a prior legislature or last year to avoid the uncertainty that's fallen us in the last year. But I think that hopefully folks would understand we're trying to thread the needle here and have an appropriate path forward.
One last question. Is there a fiscal note on this one?
The amendment came to us late, actually, so we don't have a formal fiscal note, but it does not change the environment that has existed for the last couple of years. It does not allow for new programs to emerge where they already have not. And that was the concern among committees as we worked this through the committee process, that if we had clear authorization and a number of communities were to commence these programs moving forward, that could lead to a significant fiscal note. And essentially, that's what hung us up in the committee process this year. But by grandfathering in only those programs that have been in existence prior, we feel as though that's going to limit that impact. Thanks.
Representative Forsting?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do understand there is a fiscal cost. And I don't know if any staff has that information and how that would affect our budget resolution and budget deliberations.
Mr. Burris? Do you know the fiscal note?
Madam Chair and members, I'm not sure of the fiscal cost on that provision.
Madam Chair, if you'd allow me to, we are asking the Department of Public Safety, this is on R12, paragraph C and D. We're asking Department of Public Safety to do two things in here. And one is to establish a survey that all local units of government, their law enforcement agencies would be able to administer to participants in the program. And then also to gather that information by next January, and provide a report on what those surveys say. We could remove those sections or those provisions in this amendment to reduce the cost to the agency there, and we could try to get that information through the Minnesota Sheriff's Association, for instance, and collect that data outside of the department if that would be the preference of the conference committee. So that's one cost that we could avoid.
Is there anybody from the department here that would like to speak to this?
Madam Chair, Mark Manaski, Assistant Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As the Senator mentioned, DPS has talked with the author as well as other members of the law enforcement community. We have expressed our concerns regarding the effectiveness of traffic diversion programs. As we testified in the previous hearings, we just specifically haven't found any evidence that shows that the wide-ranging traffic safety initiatives really have an impact on reducing crashes. Now, that's not to say, as was pointed out today, that drivers and law enforcement agencies find it worthwhile. Keep in mind that not issuing a citation that costs $150, $175 and doesn't go on your driving record and being able to walk away, everybody kind of walks away in a happy place. Ironically, though, if the objective of traffic enforcement, having a strategic traffic enforcement program in the state, is to reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities, we just don't know the traffic diversion programs that they may miss the objective. Going down to some of the points that the Senator brought up, specifically this language, the Senate language we are opposed to. The language includes a significant number of traffic violations for which a driver would be eligible for diversion, including two which are very important to the Department of Public Safety and the Minnesota Department of Transportation. One being the Ted Foss Move Over Law, which is a statute that dictates that people move from the right lane or slow down when there's an emergency vehicle or crews working on the roadway. And the other is the texting and driving law, which we put a lot of emphasis in because we believe that it has a significant impact on crashes. The second item is that the diversion programs lack continuity and uniformity application around the state. Having statewide consistency in enforcement and education programs that are consistent across the state is very important to DPS in its traffic strategy. The third, and it's just minor, but the diversion program content, the minimum for the diversion program as listed in this bill is a minimum of 1 hour. And so consequently, you could have a violation and really show up for just a very minimal amount of time to be able to divert it. And in this bill, DPS, as was mentioned, is tasked with developing a form for participants we're supposed to retain and then communicate back to the diversion program to determine eligibility of participants. Additionally, the language has us designing a form to elicit feedback concerning participants' perceptions, compiling that data, and then by January 15th of next year, reporting back to the legislature a compilation of all these records. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that the enactment date for this is June 1st of this year, with the report due January 15th of next year. So really what you're talking about is a 7-month period of time for the Department of Public Safety to do all that and get a report back to the legislature. And without additional resources, we think that might be problematic. Madam Chair.
Thank you for your report. With that report, is there a cost to that coming before the legislature by January 15th?
We were not asked for a fiscal note. We weren't consulted on this particular amendment, and so we don't really know. Just reading the language, the idea that the Department of Public Safety would have to establish these forms, collect the forms, work on a process for communicating back to the programs to determine participant eligibility, compile the report, do the analysis, and provide that report is probably going to take some staff time. We just don't know exactly what it is.
Is there any other? We have a few more. Okay. Thank you. Hello.
Good morning. Morning, Chair and members. My name is Mark Burkay. I'm the Chief of Police of the City of Minnetonka. I'm also here representing the Minnesota Chiefs Association. I just want to talk briefly about a program that we have that we think is of great value. It's a program that has been shared by the cities of Plymouth and Maple Grove and ourselves for over 10 years now. The program was born out of a NHTSA grant, National Highway Traffic Safety Grant, about 10 years ago. It was a $250,000 grant awarded to just 3 cities in that particular year, and the focus was on teen drivers. The outcome that we had from that, because we have that outcome, was our Teen Safe Driving program. For the last almost 10 years, we've been conducting this program every other month, having teen drivers come in for most of the violations that are included in the bill that you have before you, the amendment, and with a little bit of expansion. The beauty about ours is that not only do we get to have contact with a police officer teaching the class for 3 hours on a Saturday morning, it's not only the teen, but it's an adult parent has to come with them. So we get the opportunity to not only change the behavior of the teen, but to change the behavior and the driving tendencies of the adult. And I can tell you without exception, each day when that class is over on a Saturday morning, believe me, nobody wants to be there on a Saturday morning, the adults come forward and say, you know what, I learned a lot, I didn't know this. So we think that this is a very valuable program. Our program costs $25. We rarely cover our costs. We do that because we think there's value. If there is any money that is generated from it, it goes right back into the program. It's not used for anything else, and it is tracked in each department with a particular budget code. We think there's great value, and to Assistant Commissioner Danansky's comment about we don't think that there's value in it, I guess maybe I'm not using the right word, Commissioner. The problem is that if we don't do it, we don't know if there's any impact. If we choose not to do it, then how do we know? Our program, we did a snapshot of the last 2 years. We had a 33% recidivism rate. That means that there's a significant number of teen drivers that haven't reoffended in the last 2 years. We think that's significant. We think it's worthwhile, and we certainly support this amendment to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, and it still is morning. Thank you for hearing me. My name is Anna Mae Norman. I'm a homemaker. I don't have any titles, I don't have any, but I'm a taxpayer. And what I am here to do is to give you some information we think you don't have. Did you get an email through Matt, Chairman Matt? You should have gotten an email, quite a few pages of documentation, people who couldn't be here today. And so in that is, first of all, I can tell you, I respectfully request removal of Senator Matt Schmit's Safe Driving Program amendment from the Transportation Bill, HF2214. And then I would like to give you my reasons.
Go ahead, quickly.
Okay, thank you. One of the persons who could not be here, her name is Deb Russian. She's a Wabasha County Commissioner, and she's been involved in this whole situation. Here's just a quote from her. Did you get the letters and things from
Yes,
Doug?
Yes, we have the whole packet in front of us.
Okay. And it was sent Friday, so we understand that maybe you didn't get enough time to read that. But so I'm going to just highlight a couple of the comments from Deb's. The numbers in Wabasha County reinforce the fact that the safe driving class is all about money. In the first quarter of 2013, which was referred to, while the sheriff was still operating his illegal safe driving program, Wabasha County had 87 traffic citations. Compare that to the first quarter of 2014, where we only had 48 traffic citations. This is nearly a 50% drop in traffic citations after the court enjoined the Wabasha County Sheriff from operating a safe driving class. This demonstrates drivers in Wabasha County stand a greater chance of being pulled over if the money stays in the local coffers versus the money being sent to the state. Can we logically conclude there is a desire to purchase new equipment in the Sheriff's Department. Traffic citations would increase locations that operate a safe driving program. Okay, now here's what happened. The Wabasha County Safe Driving Program kept all the money. They didn't send, there is a safe driving state law regulations out there for a safe driving program. Wabasha County kept all the money. They didn't send any to the state. I call that embezzlement. That's money that the state should have had, that you guys should have had up here, that was kept in Wabasha County. Now, the issue is about how to function these safe driving programs. Here's another comment. Bev Snow. I have studied both the Senate and House versions of the transportation bill. It's on page 2 of Beverly Snow's transportation bill being deliberated today, and I'm concerned over several issues. I don't like the bill specifying that the proceeds go to law enforcement because it provides them a direct profit incentive without oversight. That's a situation that leads to budget-focused ticket quotas and law enforcement growing beyond the needs of the community. Government that is bigger than what a community requires is what I can call big government. And it can occur at any level, from local to federal. A law enforcement officer in this bill becomes the judge, jury, and executioner at the traffic stop. They aren't allowed, if they are influenced to take the driving class, they aren't allowed to have their day in court. She repeats also the numbers from 2013 to 2014. Now the drop in the numbers occurred when Judge Fabian made a decision that these were illegal, that these classes were illegal. The Wabasha County had been told since 2004 that the program they were doing was illegal. We need you to consider all of the information. Please read the testimony of the I think it's 4 people who have added to your pile of paper. I'm so sorry you guys have to deal with all this paper. I can't imagine.
Oh, this is nothing, believe me.
But I just really urge you to investigate this. Don't make a decision. It's a last minute thing to amend it. It's been stopped twice here, but now he wants to put an amendment to the transportation bill. It's not right. So please gather all the information before you make any decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, my name's Merle Norman. You can call this a continuation if you want, but I've been in law enforcement. I understand the statutes a little bit. In Minnesota, we're supposed to have uniform traffic laws across the state. We're supposed to have uniform enforcement across the state. And I'm sure this committee knows that very well. Statutes have already been made, probably by some of you. There's statutes on the books. And when we don't go by the statutes, that doesn't mean if somebody is doing unlawful things, we need to change the statutes right away to make their unlawful acts lawful. I hope we all have that. In this packet that has been mentioned, especially look at page 3. It's a memorandum from the Management and Budget Department of this state. As has been said, the Attorney General and the State Auditor has repeatedly said that these illegal things going on needed to stop. And thankfully, they have been stopped right now. I beg of you folks, don't do 2214 until the judicial system has taken its course. Right now, it's been stopped. Probably all of us are for programs that help for safer driving. That's not the issue right now. Judges have made some decisions and it's in the courts. Please put this off until next year, whatever. Actually, I think we've had a pilot program for 10 years. We have we have statutes on the books that tell us how to do our highways are safe as possible. When I was in law enforcement, very concerned about trying to do my best to serve the people, and most of these law enforcement people, I'm sure 99% of them, that's their goal. But right now, there's been money, and if you look at the next page in here, page 4, it tells a little bit about what's happened. And the next 3 or 4 pages after that tells you how many thousands of dollars have been spent on lollipops. Yes, lollipops, folks. Lollipops to give to the people to get the vote. Lollipops, all kinds of little gadgets. So please put this off for a year or whatever. I beg my senator to put it off for a year to have justice, folks. We all want justice. Let's do it right. Let's let the judges and the courts finish their job before we get in there and try to justify illegal activities. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Senator Dibble.
I'm sorry, we're done with that one. I can wait until we're done. Okay.
Good morning yet.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, Jim Franklin, Executive Director for Minnesota Sheriff's Association. I'll be very, very brief and very succinct to the point, I hope. Number one, the 3 E's of traffic safety are engineering, it is education, and it's enforcement. And those are the 3 E's of traffic safety that we try to promote. Enforcement is the last thing. Number 2, I want to make it clear that nowhere in the Attorney General's report, the Auditor's report, will you find the words illegal. You will find the words that say not authorized by, specifically authorized by the statute. Number 3, we have some counties and programs that continue to operate. And they are operating under the Minnesota statute 609-132, which is the county attorney's right to have diversion over certain types of programs. In the particular case of which this judge made a rendering and ruling in Wabasha County, that was slightly different than some of the other cases that are currently operating and or going on. A number have been shut down out of respect to the juvenile or the criminal justice situation currently, and waiting for the legislature to take some action. We believe Wright County, as an example, has one of the best programs. And we can statistically show you some of the safety things that, if given a little time, how that program has brought traffic safety results down in the state of Minnesota. So we're willing to work on these issues. We think they are very important. We think the 1-year timeline, as suggested by the senator, is a good timeline that we can try to bring this back and get more perspective and work collaboratively together. So with that, we would support that, encourage you to support it, be willing to work with it. I have the sheriff here. He can testify and add to any other things, but in the interest of time, we'll forego that unless you have specific questions.
Thank you. Senator Dibble.
So, Madam Chair, I just want to make a pitch to accept this provision from the Senate side. I think Mr. Franklin and Senator Schmit rightly point out that this is just extending the existing programs for a year, making them legal, so they won't be illegal as was characterized. They're illegal because they're not authorized in statute. We can change that characterization of them by adopting this authority for them. And then, hopefully respond to Mr. Vanaski's concerns about efficacy and utility of those, and hopefully we take this year to really understand and maybe look at best practices from other states, whether or not research really supports doing this. If it drives the adverse behaviors that we wouldn't want, as the citizen justifiers described, if it improves driving outcomes, sorting through the fiscal issues vis-a-vis the state and the local relationship. I think it's important to answer all those questions. Those are important questions to answer. But we have some programs that are on the ground, and to not extend them for at least 1 year means they just vanish into thin air. So that would be my opinion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to pass on some concerns on the House side from Representative Paymar, who chairs the Public Safety Committee. He has a lot of concerns about this that he wanted me to express, and it wasn't heard, I believe, in the House. And so, I think from our perspective, I want to, Public Safety Chair, I think, has an important perspective. Of course, we in the transportation field have some say in this as well, but I share Mr. Danaski's concerns as the author of the no texting while driving legislation. I hope that in no way are we compromising enforcement of that provision. So I just, again, wanted to pass on to the committee Representative Paymar's concerns and mine as well.
Representative Sundin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a number of questions and concerns that I wanted to talk about, and a lot of the information that was provided by testifiers did touch on most of those. I noticed that we have 36 programs with different rules existing in the state right now, and I believe it was the last testifier that said there's existing statute that actually does authorize some of those programs, and I'd be interested in seeing the numbers so we can judge the success of those authorized programs before I could support anything here. As far as the one testifier that went as far as calling the money issue embezzlement, we call that creative management in government, but that is a concern as well. Are the local authorities dipping into that where they shouldn't be? And then I guess one of the biggest concerns is, and I do appreciate the discretion that law enforcement officials have. I've been the benefactor of that a couple of times out on the highway, and but with the discretion that an officer or department levies in Wabasha or Minnetonka, is it the same as in Duluth? So there's a lot of unanswered questions here, and I just don't have enough clarity in my mind to support this.
Madam Chair, if I could just add, we've spent a lot of time in committee on this year, and that's why we're here today, is because I think there's been a lot of recognition that there's value in trying to get some more information from this program, trying to promote uniformity in these programs. However, there's a lot to learn from areas that do it better than others. And what we're trying to do here is essentially strike that fine line to allow programs that have existed, that have offered value, and we could fill the room up with folks who have contacted me this over the last year about the values of the programs. We just want to have a path forward here so that we can get that information and make an informed decision once and for all. And nothing that we're doing today is the final word on this. And it would simply be a means of continuing that conversation and learning more in the meantime. And since I have the floor here, I'd just like to thank constituents who came up to speak to this issue. We hadn't had a chance to connect. I hadn't heard of your concerns prior, but I really would like to work with you, if this was forward or not, to try to get this in a good shape in a program that we have confidence in moving forward. But folks, I've heard from one law enforcement official after the other throughout Minnesota about the value of these programs in promoting education and safety. And one of the challenges we have is we don't have the data necessarily to flesh that out. And that's one of the things we're trying to accomplish here in this pilot program. Is we have the attention of local law enforcement and local units of government, we have some programs that have been in existence. Let's come back next year more informed so that we can make a final decision on this. And that's I respectfully submit to you, that's the motivation behind this amendment, and that's why we ran the bill through the committee process in the last several months.
I'm torn on this issue because I know that Kennewick County has has a diversion program and find it very, very effective. And they rave about their program. And yet I'm hearing today that there are some programs that meet for 1 hour versus maybe 3 hours, or maybe some 6 hours, I'm not sure. A Saturday morning, which is a great sometimes hindrance, a good punishment on itself, whether or not that's helps with the punishment as well, I don't know. But then the outcome of having education and to be able to reinforce and to show our whether they're teens or adults, kind of a refresher course, knowing that my husband just went through 55 and alive. It's always good to have re-ups on just good traffic behaviors. And personally, as a rural, somebody from outstate coming to the metro for 2 winters, or 2 seasons here, those referrals and refreshers are often very good, because all of a sudden I'm realizing I'm in with metro buses, and school buses, you stop no matter what. What do I do about metro bus? And all of a sudden you're just realizing that the rules are different, metro, rural, and all those kinds of things. Any kind of refresher courses are important. So this is a tough issue, because I know that it's looking at the money issue. The inadequacies of the range of tickets to, I like things in this little box, but we're all individuals, and as well. And so this is tough. Senator Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think, my personal perspective on this, as well as having an obligation to advocate for the Senate provision, is that a lot of the questions you just raised are answered in this language. Right? To be clear, if this committee does not adopt this language, these programs that are out there will continue. Some are, like the Wabasha County one, are in a legal process, but there are others all over the state that people are getting benefit from. Not adopting this language is not going to shut these programs down. What adopting this language does.
Can we just confirm that? I thought the court case, or is it just Wabasha that's under the cease and desist?
That's my understanding.
It was
No. Madam Chair, just the Wabasha case. Others are continuing. This is not a retroactive to all other programs. It's only to the Wabasha case.
So, Madam Chair, what this language does then is provide some structure. If you read through it, it has the minimums, it gives it some structure. It's only the existing programs, it's only for 1 year, so this legislature is back in January in a full 5-month session. Actually, a testifier earlier said really it's 7 months, because we get the report in January. It goes to both transportation committees, where I know at least on our side we had a lengthy hearing on it this year, and we'll have another next year. So, I would argue to proceed in that manner. And for the record, my police chief, I think, is head of your association, so he got a hold of Gordon Ramsey, got a hold of me over the weekend, and expressed his strong support. So.
Madam Chair,
Sir?
I would just ask that each member read these pages in this report. We had a lady that called every one of these counties and cities, and she got reports in this packet. And one of the counties was actually letting DWI citations get away with only coming to this class. So please read all of these in your packet.
Madam Chair, to that comment, with regards to the DWI, if you look at the record, the court will order people to the diversion program for consultation as part of that. In addition, the court also has a DWI diversion program that they operate. But no DWIs are subject to this.
Senator Reiner?
Sort it out.
Madam Chair, I think we've had good testimony on both sides of this and a good discussion, being mindful of the time, and the Senate is under call. I would move the Senate language.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Could I amend, so that we would, remove the FOSS law and the texting while driving, elements?
So do we need to pull it in, and then we can amend things out?
Or you can move it, or you can just amend the motion to say the Senate language absent the authority to divert if the citation is for the FOSS law and the texting while driving.
What Senator Dickinson say?
Okay, okay. So, all those in favor of the Senate version minus
Exception.
FOSS and texting.
FOSS and texting on R10,
We take out 10.31 and 11.3.
By taking out on R10, 10.31 to 11.
No, just 10 point, Madam Chair, just line 10.31 and line 11.3.
Oh, okay. And 11.3. So just those two, 10.31 and 11.3.
You have to adopt the amendment first, though?
Yeah, that is the amendment.
Gotcha.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Was
no's?
this on the amendment, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
No, I thought the motion incorporated the amendment.
Yes.
So it's on the full motion.
Okay, so all those, we'll repeat that again. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those no?
No.
Motion did not prevail.
I'll ask for that in the division.
Okay. All those in favor say, raise your hand. All those no? Raise your hand. The noes have it. Motion does not prevail.